Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of VoiceOver Voices.biz. I'm your host, Earl Hall. We're here for the beginning voiceover artists, those that are looking to get started and how to start, build, and grow a successful voiceover business. Today, I have just an amazing guest, a very special guest, and I'm sure you're going to want to dig into the conversation that we're going to have. Rolf Veldman is here with me today. He is the CEO of Voice123. Yes, we got him here. And we're going to be talking about not only AI, but also some things that are going to help the new and upcoming voiceover artists take advantage of everything that's going on over at Voice123. They've been around since 2003. They were the first platform on the market to really go in and be able to have voice actors come on a platform and do auditions, get work, and make money. Rolf, welcome to the show, man. I definitely appreciate you being here with me today.
No, thanks a lot for having me, Earl. Happy to be here.
Man, well, I mean, I was so excited when, I first got an email a couple of weeks ago kind of stating that you wanted to, be on the show and talk about the things that we're going to be talking about today. Before we even started, I mean, I'd mentioned we talked about some things with other voice actors on the show about one of the scariest things out there in a lot of voiceover actors' minds is this whole thing with AI and is the computer voice going to take over my job? Am I not going to have work anymore? All those types of things. And I know you guys just recently put out a report. What kind of things do you want to dive into with that? My whole perception of this whole thing is, at least for right now, it's kind of safe, but there's so many different things. I mean, I'm wondering even if you've heard about, I watched a YouTube video recently from another voice actor, and they were not even a voice actor, they were a content creator, and they were talking about the fact that there's AI out there that can mimic your own voice, which is kind of crazy to me, and it has to learn, but kind of fill us in on your insight about this whole thing from the perspective of Voice123.
Yeah, no, it started off from a personal perspective being equally scared as you just described, but thankfully I've learned a lot in the last couple of years, which is why we've written the report and shared the report. We wanted to provide some insights because AI seems like this scary monster that's going to replace everything. But what we mostly learned from doing the research that we did in the last couple of years is that it's at best is what you just described, mimicry, right? It's a mimicry of voice, and it's not going to replace people. It's just going to be a new type of VO that's coming in the next couple of years. And I think it's important for voice actors everywhere around the world to be ready to work with it instead of against it. So I'm sort of on a mission to make AI less of a taboo, make it more open, make it more as a tool set for voice actors to work with. So we've done a research targeting 10,000s of clients, exposing them to different AI voiceovers and just letting them tell us, hey, what would you pay for it? How would you book already AI voiceovers? At what quality would you? And once you start using AI, what type of work would you use it? Because that's my initial fear a couple of years ago when I joined Voice123. I asked the founders, okay, what is the biggest threat on the horizon and what are the opportunities? And one of the threats they instantly mentioned was there's synthetic voices, there's AI voices that might replace companies like Voice123, because if voice actors are out of work, then Voice123 is in trouble. So this has ever been on the top of my mind for the last couple of years. So I wanted to know more about it. So if it's going to change, let's say IVR or corporate VO or commercial or promo, like at least we know and we can shape what kind of changes are going to happen. So it came from having hunches and wanting some hunches get confirmed or denied. And that's why we ran like an extensive research for about a year and a half, close to 2 years, trying to figure out what is AI going to do in VO. And that's why we built the report and shared with everybody.
Wow. And I apologize to you. I think I mispronounced your last name. It's Veldman.
That's
with that,
we're here today. We're here today with this.
Okay, we're here today with Rolf Veldman. He's the CEO of Voice123, and I'm sure many voice actors are definitely familiar with that platform and are working on that platform. One of the things about the whole AI thing, at least in the perspective of right now, is that at least from a voiceover artist that has been doing this for years, maybe even decades, and especially audio engineers and things like that, we have a tendency to have a very sensitive ear when we're listening to voice. So we know when it's mechanical.
Yeah.
Maybe the client doesn't know or doesn't really pick up on it, but I think because we listen so much to sound, we have a tendency to know that it is a mechanical voice, no matter how good it is. Because there's some things I believe, and I'm sure you would agree, there's things that the human voice can do in a moment that an AI voice would have to be reprogrammed to do it just like that. So I think the threat, if it is a threat, is going to be kind of far off. But at least for right
You're
now,
right. Yeah.
I think that everybody should keep doing what they're doing and putting out the best VO that they can. With that being said,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I interrupted. No, I wanted to say precisely that point is what I got confirmed in the last couple of months as well. Like the AI sounds very impressive because of the word AI, right?
Right.
It sounds like it's very sophisticated, but in the end, it's a large data set that turns into an audio file. Now, what AI can do is do things really fast, and an AI voice, if you program it right, can deliver an audio file really fast. What they cannot do is perform, right? That's where
Mm-hmm.
acting comes in. They can only add on. So if you see how there's all these new AI companies popping up specifically in voice, right? Because it's going to be the next big thing. It's what everybody is expecting. And more of these companies are trying to build more and more of these basically sound boards kind of solutions where, okay, I'm going to up it by happiness by a factor 0.2. I'm going to make it
Yeah.
a bit more sad. I'm going to make it jumpy. I'm going to make it conversational. But that's not what performance is, right? Performance comes from the human interaction, and you cannot, like, one note in a studio, you cannot do that with a bunch of buttons trying to mimic a voice. So
Mm-hmm.
the human is going to be at the center of the whatever creative project is going to be. But instead of looking at it as a item that's going to fundamentally replace everybody, it's just a new tool set that allows you to edit in a different way. It allows you to maybe do a mixed version of what is part AI and part your own voice for long form projects. It might be a way for you to translate or to increase your reach into different voice styles, just partly. So there's all these options, but what is for sure that it won't replace VO, human VO.
Awesome. Well, I mean, let's kind of dive into some more stuff here with Voice123. I know voice actors all over the world are listening, are going to be watching this, and it's like, I'll just tell you this. I've heard this story over and over and over again, and it's my own story as well.
Go ahead.
The first day that someone decides to become a voice actor and they go out and they start buying gear and they see sites like yours at Voice123, and the immediate thing they say is, I'm going to get on this platform. I'm going to be a six-figure earner in the next 3 weeks because I'm just going to blow this thing up, and it never happens that way. It's like the level of work and dedication and heart that goes into this, and talent, obviously, is something that comes to the forefront. What are some? I mean, with the platform that you have at Voice123, what is day one? What would someone want to make sure that they do as far as with their profile that they set up and auditions and how many a day and maybe which level of engagement they need to have with Voice123? What would you suggest?
So I wouldn't start straight away in Voice123. I would actually start at home with, if you have a whiteboard but have not a piece of paper, try to write down what you're offering, not just when it comes to voiceover, but what kind of experience you're offering. Because people who work with voice actors or trying to buy voiceovers, they're not just looking for an audio file, they're buying an experience of working with a voice actor. Right?
Mm,
Most people from the client side who join Voice123, they either have a marketing a campaign that they need to run, they're running a commercial, they might have hired an agency in the past and they want to do it themselves for the first time. It might be agencies themselves. There's all these different types of work that happen on Voice123. What most of them have in common is that they're impressed by what you, the voice actor, can do. So if your quality is good enough, make sure that your setup is good and that your audio quality and the things that the output there is pristine, and your ability to then brand yourself as a person who's responsive, who can work with the person, who has some basic customer service skills.
hmm.
Only when you start to build out those components, I think, is when you should start paying for a membership on sites like Voice123. Don't do what you just described. Pay for a
Hmm.
membership. It's easy money, and then
Yeah.
be very disappointed about VO because VO is a grind. There's a lot of auditions that you need to do before you get a job, and then once you get a job, and you've had one, and then okay, what's next? Then you have to go back into the grinder. Be positioned in such a way that you can keep relationships, that you can manage relationships for the long term, that's where being a VO entrepreneur is. It's not about all these gigs that you're trying to get. It's more about building relationships, being creative, offering an experience to clients. So when it is day one, after you've done all that and it's day one on Voice123, then make sure that the profile that you have on Voice123 is like a business card. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to be in the middle. We started as a platform that wanted to get rid of agents in the first place. So all
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to do is make sure that the relationship happens between the client and the voice actor. So you take it from there. But it also means that we build our profiles in such a way that's basically your business card. So display your portfolio, be transparent about your services, be very transparent about what you can, but maybe more important, what you cannot do. And then you can join Voice123, and then you're ready to start auditioning and to start receiving messages.
Let's dig into this for a moment here, because when you talk about offering a client experience, right? And I think this may be a missing piece, because voiceover artists are artists, and just like most artists, they know how to do the thing they do, but when it comes down to sales and marketing, that's a whole other skill set that people need to acquire. And I totally agree with you about that experience in taking people on some sort of journey where they actually have confidence not only in your skill set, and they can hear that by listening to audio, but also in who the person is,
Yeah.
and what it is that they're passionate about. There's one question I've been waiting to ask you this whole time. What are your thoughts around people going broad or people going niche in regards to, like, people say, I'm a voiceover artist, and to me that doesn't say anything. It's like, what do you do? It's what's your specialty? But what are your thoughts on that? Because I know I've been kind of preaching about that for a couple of years now, about niching down, not being so broad.
So I 100% agree with you, Earl. So if you look back, we've been in the industry for a long time, but so
Yeah.
let's say we have about 1 million voice actors in our database. That's a lot of people, and
Yeah.
and the voiceover industry is so fragmented. If I now do a quick search, I can find about like 200 platforms. Granted, not all of them will be as big as Voice123, but there's all these different places where people can go and find VO. If you're very general, that helps in a way that you can do a lot, but you're hard to find amongst all these people. So it's all about finding your own voice and finding the unique qualities that you have and finding ways to describe that in a way that connects with what people are looking for. If you get very technical in describing your own niche, it's going to be hard for people who are first timers to voice uh, trying to find you. So you need to get to a place where you can describe what makes you different from everybody else, what kind of voice you have, what kind of voiceover work is your strength, and you need to have the ability to explain it to your 4-year-old nephew. If they
Mm-hmm.
understand it, then most likely the clients are going to find you. And I think niche is good because I think, again, voice actors are always the expert in a room. So
Mm-hmm.
most likely, most people can already do very general type of VO, being at 10 times the level that the person that is buying the voiceover has experience to, because most likely they come to a professional actor after first having the person in the office try it out. They try it on their phone, they try it in a mic, and it doesn't sound good. So they're already, most people are easily impressed by just the sheer quality that most voice actors have, by having the right setup, by being able to do a performance without too many clicks and without too many noises in the recording. Just that basic level allows everybody to be general as a default.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if everybody has a general reach, then you need to further define your niche, and your niche should be changing. It should be You should be able to cater to different niches over time. And I think the more specific you are in that, the more unique you are, and the more easy it is to be found. Because that's how our clients use Voice123. We try to position ourselves as basically the Google of VO, where
Mm-hmm.
whatever. That's why we have this extensive search functionality. So when clients go for us, they just type what they have in their head in terms of voice style, in terms of kind of reference points that they have, and based on that, they try to contact voice actors. So if you are able to adapt your own, again, your own business card to it, you have a more likelihood of standing out.
I mean, thanks for that. And with all that being said, it's like kind of trying to get into the mind of that client that is looking to hire a voice actor. You know, in my mind, and obviously not being an employee at Voice123, I don't know this, so I have to ask this question. It's like for a job that comes in and you might get, 20, 50, 100, 200 auditions for the same job. How hard of a task is that on the client side to narrow that down? How long does that take? And is that something that may be a bit overwhelming to the client, or are there some things in place that you have at Voice123 that makes that job easier on the client?
All right. Yeah, so most clients request between 15 and 20 auditions.
Okay.
So that alone makes it a bit smaller of a range. But then again, there's no stereotypical client, right? So some clients they receive these proposals in their inbox, and it's basically a playlist of all these different auditions, and they listen to a couple of seconds, go to the next, go to the next, go to the next. And it's the same as the first impression when you meet somebody. Those first 2 seconds is where most of the decision is being made. So that's where you need to focus on. By the time, if you ever record a 15 to 20 second audition, they've made the decision in the first 5 seconds. That's the most important part of your audition. So that needs
big.
to be quality, and it needs to be on point of whatever the client wants to hear in terms of range, what is descriptive in the brief. So what clients go through, they go through that list, and then in our platform, they basically give thumbs up for the ones that they think is the most relevant for them, and then they either book them directly on our site, which is a new functionality that we have, or we just, in this case, you contact you, Earl, directly and work it from there. Because that's how most clients use our search as well. They like a demo is not an initial thing to listen to when you're working with a voice actor. What you're listening to a sample, and that sample could be an audition, or that sample could be like, I'm looking for a conversational type voiceover. So I'm searching for that. I'm listening to that sample. If that's relevant, I go to the profile, and then maybe I listen to the demo. But like a demo is more something that's for agents. What people who are new to the industry and that buying voiceover, they need to get that initial hook. And so that's why that 5 second part of the sample is so important.
Yes. It's amazing because, I mean, one of the things, and I've said that as well, I mean, they're only going to listen to like 3 seconds is what I usually say.
Yeah.
It's like the first 3 seconds is the most important for anything that you're vying for as far as getting voiceover work. When it comes down to, I mean, I'm assuming there are communities that people can join as far maybe not support groups, that sounds kind of negative, but groups for Voice123 that maybe offer advice or things of that nature. Is there a community that people can normally join around that?
Well, like I said, historically, we've been trying to stay as far away as possible. We wanted to be facilitators, but just recently we've launched a thing called The Booth, where the things that I'm saying right now, we're writing them down and turning them into insights for voice actors to all consume. So we have a voiceover guide. We have like the report about AI that I just mentioned, but all these other kind of insights on how at least the digital version of VO works, in our opinion, and what we think is important to do. We're trying to get to a place where it's not just about Voice123, because we know that Voice123 is not the world, and the VO world is much, much bigger. So we need to cover it all. But there's no one community. And I think you can attest to that. There is no single community. People hang out in Facebook groups. People hang out, and recently in Clubhouse. There's forums on Reddit, and there's all these niches that have their own vision about the industry. I think that makes it hard to get started, right? So first of all, there's like hundreds of platforms. Do I need to get an agent? Like a voice actor starting spends between like $2,000 and $20,000 in their first year just on education, which is wild. It shouldn't be the case. It should be easier just to get to know what it's like to be in the industry. That first year is all about saying no to a lot of things, I think. And
I think so as well.
Yeah, and that's hard.
Kind of going on a personal level. It's like, what was the thing that excited you a couple of years ago about even going to Voice123 and working with this group? I mean, you look like a relatively young guy, So.
Well, specifically because my background is I'm an historian, so I'm as far away from what I should be doing as possible. Because I'm a CEO of a tech company working in the voiceover industry, so I couldn't be further away from where I started. But what I liked is that, first of all, it's a voiceover is like a unique ecosystem, like a unique niche. All the people there are super creative, but they have to be business orientated, and that creates a lot of tension. And I'm from the Netherlands. I like efficiency. And I think that's what a tech company like Voice123 does, is try to make that whole experience more efficient. And then when I realized that Voice123 was founded based on a very activistic mission, like we want to get rid of the middleman and we want to make sure that voiceover is easy for people to have most of the gains directly as the creative, that inspired me to join and then help accelerate that mission for the next couple of years.
And I think making it so, kind of like you said, taking that middleman out of the equation, and that voice actor being pretty much able to go directly almost to that end user is so vital and important. And obviously this takes what we were talking about earlier, business skills, sales and marketing skills, things of that nature, so that you do stand out from the crowd. And I know that's one of the things that's missing so many times. If there was, as we wrap this up, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to VOs about whether it's being on Voice123, getting into the industry or whatever, what would that piece of advice be to that brand new voice actor?
So it isn't necessarily acquiring all these marketing skills, these sales skills, and all this educational material about VO per se. I think what makes you succeed in the industry is two things. One is it's the second time the same client books you. That's the most important definition of success. It's not the first gig and not all the first gigs that you're going to get. It's how can I set up a system to stay in voiceover and not just join. So if you have that mission from the get-go, you're approaching it in a whole different way. You're not trying to, of course, you have to audition to a lot of work to get those initial jobs in, but it's all about how can that same client book me again and again and again and again, because that's how you stay in VO. The second part is, I think voice actors for the last 50 years have been unjustly told, let me handle that for you. Like you don't know. And well, I think what has done with it is that it has changed the confidence from the voice actor to only be, okay, I'm the actor, that's the only thing I'm good at. But business isn't that hard. Business is all about just being kind, being open, being transparent. If you're aware in any studio that most likely you are the most talented and most experienced person in a room, that should boost your confidence and makes it easier for you to give, and to give creatively, but also to give professionally to the people that you're working with. And that's going to build more relationship, and that's going to keep you in VO. I wish voice actors weren't so easily convinced that they needed agents, and in the end, like companies like Voice123. It's weird that we exist, right? It's weird that there's a different version of a middleman, which is now Voice123. I hope over time, companies like ourselves are being less and less and less prevalent, and it's more and more about that first relationship. But it starts with the kind of confidence that you need to have as a creative, and trying to reduce how difficult it is to be a businessman. It's just about being nice.
I love that right there. It's just about being nice. Well, Rolf, I definitely want to thank you for being on voiceovervoices.biz with me today. This has been super helpful, will be super helpful to everyone that watches this conversation and really kind of digs in. And I hope people take the nuggets away from this that you were meant to take away. Make sure that you develop that presence that you need online, in your profiles, in your gigs, all that stuff, to show the differentiation between yourself. Also, make sure that you understand that you don't need someone to go and get the work for you. You can literally go to a place like Voice123 where people are coming, clients are coming to find people just like you. So I want to encourage you to go today. If you don't have a profile on voice123.com, make sure that you go there, voice123.com, get that profile set up. If you're good at what you do, and you know if you are or not, if you know you're ready, now's the time to dive in. Don't wait. Rolf, I just want to thank you one more time for coming on and being with us today and giving this advice to so many voice actors that are craving for it. So thanks so much. I know you're in a different time zone, so I'm not sure if it's nighttime there. I know it's morning here, so it must be afternoon or evening where you are.
It is. It's like 3 p.m. But no, thanks. I had a wonderful conversation. Thanks, Earl. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And listen, everyone, make sure that you go to voiceovervoices.biz. Make sure that you check out this interview. Make sure that you check out all the interviews that we do there, and also set up your own on-camera interview with us as well, because we're here to support you. the voiceover artist that's looking to start, build, and grow a successful voiceover business. I'll see you next time.